What if Alton B. Parker defeated Teddy Roosevelt in 1904? What would he need to do to win? In this timeline, Parker had to present a stronger, more protective vision for economy reforms, rather than relying on his standard states' rights and backwards-looking communist laws. Solutions. He needed to convince the public that Teddy's resolutions were just performative political threats, and that Democrats often a more stable system, cleanup of corporation corruption or whatever. 1904 U.S.A. election, Parker Davis vs. Roosevelt Fairbanks. Alton D. Parker wins by flipping Minnesota, New York, California, Colorado, and Kansas. Anyway, let's talk about his term. His first term would focus on cracking down corruption. In 1908, Parker and Davis would easily get reunited without serious opposition. Republicans nominate William Howard Taft, and he nominates James S. Sherman to be his running mate, just like in real life. 1908 U.S.A. election, Taft-Sherman vs. Parker Davis. Despite the panic of 1907, Alton B. Parker was able to win the election in 1908, defeating William Taft easily. The panic of 1907 would continue on into Parker's second term, and in 1909 he would sign the Patrons-Hawley-Taylor Act, which is a law that Taft signed in real life. 1912 U.S.A. election, Wilson Marshall vs. Debs Butler. Woodrow Wilson wins in 1912. Woodrow Wilson's presidency would pretty much stay the same. 1916 U.S.A. election, Wilson Marshall vs. Roosevelt Hughes. Woodrow Wilson wins re-election in 1916. But however, just like in real life, America would get involved into World War I. Just months prior to into Wilson's second term. And Wilson becomes very unpopular. In 1919, Wilson suffers a stroke, which paralyzes him for the rest of his term. Thanks to Wilson's unpopularity, and after 16 years of Democratic ruling, Republicans have a strong chance to win back the election. 1920 U.S.A. election, Hoover Coolidge vs. Marshall Davis. World War II war wins in 1920. And for the first time in 16 years, the Republicans win. The 1920 and 1921 Great Depression would raise on into Hoover's first term. The Teapot Dome scandal would probably not happen in real life, well, in this alternate timeline. 1924 U.S.A. election, Hoover Coolidge vs. David Davis Bryan. World War II war easily wins re-election in 1904, even winning long-time Democratic strongholds like Texas, Florida, Georgia, and Virginia. Landon Curtis vs. Cox Roosevelt. Alfred M. Landon is able to win 1952 U.S.A. election. Landon Curtis vs. Smith Roosevelt. Alfred M. Landon was able to win the election in 1952. The Great Depression happens in 1934 instead of 1928 in this alternate timeline. And Landon is criticized for it, but not as much as World War II for, as in real life. 1936 U.S.A. election. Curtis Wilkie vs. Roosevelt Gardner. Franklin D. Roosevelt was able to win the 1936 election. 1940 U.S.A. election. Roosevelt Gardner vs. Wilkie Dewey. Wendell Wilkie is able to win 1940, and many people aren't happy with Wilkie's presidency, because Pearl Harbor still happens, and because Wilkie is an interventionist, America joins the war sooner. In 1944, Henry Wallace campaigns on getting America out of the war and the Soviet Union. Many Americans aren't happy because after 5 years of the war going on, they just want Wilkie to finish the job. 1944 U.S.A. election. Wilkie Dewey vs. Wallace Truman. Wendell Wilkie wins the election with 289 electoral votes. 1948 U.S.A. election. Dewey Kefauver vs. Truman Bargney vs. Foreman Wright. Failed party strong Truman does better in this time, winning all 12 former Confederate states, and the race is sent to Congress since no one gets over 250 electoral votes, the required threshold needed to win the presidency at that time. Thomas Dewey is seen as the safest choice for the presidency, and thus he gets the presidency. The Korean War still happens. It breaks out in 1951, and that's in year Dewey fires Douglas MacArthur, just like in real life. 1952 U.S.A. election. Dewey Kefauver vs. Stevenson Kennedy. Thomas Dewey wins the election in 1952, having a very great second term, better than Eisenhower. Richard Nixon and JFK get their party's nomination in 1956. 1956 U.S.A. election. Kennedy Johnson vs. Nixon Lodge Jr. Richard Nixon was able to defeat Kennedy in 1956, thanks to the popularity of the Republicans after Dewey's 2 terms. 1960 U.S.A. election. Nixon Lodge Jr. vs. Johnson Humphrey. Richard Nixon wins the election in 1960. In 1964, JFK makes an unexpected comeback in 1964. Thanks to Nixon's being unpopular due to the Vietnam War, Kennedy would run on the same platforms that cost him the 1956 election, and he'd be even more clear for the Democratic nomination. 1964 U.S.A. election. Goldwater Miller vs. JFK Humphrey. JFK unanimously flips Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin. 4 years later, George Romney runs against him with Nelson Rockefeller. 1968 U.S.A. election, Romney Rockefeller vs. JFK Humphrey. Kennedy destroys Romney and wins re-election in 1968. NASA still has a moon landing in 1972. JFK describes the moon landing as this is the best day in America, which is how JFK described the moon landing, which is similar to how in real life Nixon described the moon landing. In 1972 U.S.A. election, Humphrey Kennedy vs. Raj Jr. Reagan. Humphrey is able to win, and the Democrats win a successful term in office. The Watergate scandal forces Humphrey to withdraw from re-election, and Jimmy Carter takes his place as the governor of Georgia. 1976 U.S.A. election, Carter Mondale vs. Reagan Schweinfurt. Humphrey's unpopularity due to his poor handling of the Vietnam War and the fall of Saigon is the main reason for Carter's loss, and Reagan wins in a landslide, carrying 300 electoral votes. 1980 U.S.A. election, Reagan Schweinfurt vs. Mondale Florida. Ronald Reagan wins re-election in 1980 with 444 electoral votes, with one of the biggest losses in a two-way race up to that point in this alternate timeline. The Soviet Union collapses in 1982. In that same year, the Republicans lose the midterms due to the rise of stagflation. 1984 U.S.A. election, Schweinfurt vs. Hart Mondale. Garrett Hart is able to win 1988 U.S.A. election, Hart Grand vs. Schwarzenegger Bush. Again, Richard Schweinfurt, the vice president to Ronald Reagan, the former vice president, defeats incumbent Garrett Hart. 1992 U.S.A. election, Schweinfurt Bush vs. Hart Grand. Again, Garrett Hart is able to win in 1992. 1996 U.S.A. election, Schweinfurt W. Bush vs. Clinton Gore. Richard Schweinfurt defeats Bill Clinton. Richard Schweinfurt becomes the favorite president in this alternate timeline to win 2 non-consecutive terms. 2000 U.S.A. election, W. Bush Cheney vs. Gore Lieberman. George W. Bush wins decisively with 301 electoral votes. 9/11 still happens, and George W. Bush has a poor response to it. And he also has a poor response to the 2004 tsunami. People are unhappy with George W. Bush and going back on him. 2004 U.S.A. election, Gore Lieberman vs. W. Bush Cheney. Al Gore wins in 2004 because of a not-so-good George W. Bush presidency, and Gore defeats George W. Bush in a not-so-close election. Even though Al Gore does have a poor response to the 2006 Hurricane Katrina, is still popular. 2008 U.S.A. election, Gore, Lieberman, vs. McCain, Giuliani. Al Gore wins re-election with 357 electoral votes. The 2008 recession happens in 2011 in this alternate timeline. The Democratic Party begins to shift in this alternate timeline. And Hillary Clinton runs president in 2012 with Barack Obama. 2012 U.S.A. election, Rumsfeld Buchanan vs. Clinton Obama. Thanks to Donald Rumsfeld's aides, Hillary Clinton is able to win the 2012 election giantly with 490 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton has a good turn by saving the factories in the Rust Belt. Donald Trump runs in the 2016 election with a campaign on more animal hunting, free trade, not free trade, and wanting big business. 2016 U.S.A. election, Clinton Obama vs. Trump Pence. Hillary Clinton easily wins re-election in 2016 with 329 electoral votes. She struggles with COVID a bit, but she is still popular. Donald Trump makes an unexpected comeback in 2020, campaigning on the same things that got him defeated in 2016. He becomes even more clear for the Republican nomination. 2020 U.S.A. election, Trump-Pence vs. Kane Sanders. Donald Trump wins in 2020 by unanimously flipping Pennsylvania, a crucial swing state. The reason why Trump won was because of the way how Clinton handled COVID, and the fact that Tim Kaine kind of ran a terrible campaign, and thus Pennsylvania voted for Trump. 2024 U.S.A. election, Newsom Sanders vs. Trump Pence. Donald Trump destroys Gavin Newsom and wins re-election in 2024. 2028 was going to be a huge time for both Democrats and Republicans. They needed to draw on American and needed to capitalize. In 2028, Republicans nominate Mike Pence. He nominates Ron DeSantis. In 2028, Democrats nominate Greenwich Wimbledon, and she nominates Tim Walz. 2028 U.S.A. election, Wimbledon Walz vs. Pence DeSantis. Greenwich Wimbledon easily wins in 2028 due to an inflation crisis that horribly affected Trump's second term. The reason why Democrats and Greenwich Wimbledon were able to destroy Pence DeSantis' ticket in a landslide was due to Trump's handling of the Iran war, and due to the fact that he had completely ripped apart his popularity. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video.